What is happening, everybody? How you doing? Marc Farzy with you here on the Farzy Show, here from the Steven Singer Studios. Here's what I wish you in life, all right? And it's in the past already, but I wish that you experienced this. I wish you had as great a weekend as I did. How about that? I told you I was going down to Annapolis, right? And I was enjoying myself, and it was an anniversary weekend. Technically, my wife and I, our anniversary is tomorrow, our wedding anniversary, that is. But we wanted a quick little getaway. Highly recommend Annapolis. Highly recommend Annapolis. It's a great time. Beautiful place. The nice scenery right on the water. And it's just lovely. It's flat out lovely. I'll tell you this real quick. My wife and I, we were walking around the little state house they have down there. It looks a lot like Independence Hall. And we're walking around, and I look up at it, and we're just admiring it. I love history, and I look up, and I'm just like, wow, this place is amazing. It kind of reminds me of Independence Hall. And as I'm looking up at like the bell tower, whatever it is, this or it's not a bell tower, the little whatever it is, steeple, and this guy walks by. I was saying in his 60s, and he was having a conversation with some other dude, and they're talking. And as I'm just looking up, mid-conversation, this guy just turns around and goes, "No nails." And I go, I'm sorry, well, what? And he goes, "They didn't use nails. They didn't want to buy them from the British. So the State House has no nails." I was like, thank you, random history fact fairy. Thank you. And he was like, "No, top of the day to you," and then kept walking. I was like, does Independence Hall have any nails? Because it was built around, I don't know if it was built around the same time. I don't know. But I know it was probably at the same time they don't want to buy anything from the British. But it was a little random factoid dropped in there. Anyway, we had a wonderful time. It was lovely. Highly recommend that to every single person to check out Annapolis, Maryland. We had ourselves a great time. Oh, and boy, did we hit up Steak and Maine on the way down. Oh, boy. More on that later. But here's how my weekend went. And by the way, Amy Fadool is going to join the show today. My good friend, one of my favorite people ever. Amy Fadool is going to join the show today, talk some 76ers basketball, so I look forward to that. But here was my experience. I get an Airbnb down there, and I'm trying to watch a little earlier in the day. I'm trying to watch the Italians in the Euro because I enjoy the Euro. I enjoy football more than I enjoy soccer. You get what I'm saying? I enjoy the international competition when soccer's on the international stage more so than I do in anything domestic. Let's put it that way. I appreciate it. I like it, but I love it when it is on the international stage. So I want to watch the Italians beat up on Turkey, and wouldn't you know it, they did it, and they win. And I'm trying to find it on the TV I had there at the Airbnb. And guess what? The people don't have ESPN. Yeah, you heard me right. They don't have ESPN. So I got to find out a way to watch it on my laptop, and I end up doing that. And as I'm doing that, I hit another button on the antenna thing on the TV, and it got me Telemundo. And Telemundo had the soccer game. It had the football game. It had Italy-Turkey. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe this will also have Sixers. Maybe this will also have Sixers-Hawks later. Yeah, that wasn't the case. And then unbeknownst to me, ESPN got rid of the ESPN Watch app. I don't know. And what they did. So I have to go back on my laptop to try to watch the Sixers. I finally got in on it at about the 8-minute mark of the first quarter. So I'm sitting there on the Airbnb sofa watching the 76ers play this playoff game. I almost left my wife and just said, "Toots, good night. You're tired anyway. I'm going to go to a bar and just enjoy this game." I didn't do that because I'm a smart man who would like to stay married. So I sat on the sofa, and I watched the Sixers and I watched the Atlanta Hawks Game 3 on my laptop, and I could not have been more impressed with what I saw from the 76ers, especially in the second half of play. They're up, 5 points at halftime? And the whole time I'm watching them in the first half, I'm thinking, Ben Simmons is going to get going, right? Ben Simmons is going to get aggressive at some point, right? Ben Simmons is going to get in attack mode at some point, right? That's going to happen. We're going to see that happen in this game. Hopefully, please, cross your fingers. And then the play happened that I want to say was maybe 4 minutes left in the half. And it was the play where Ben Simmons drove the baseline, went up for the layup with about 3-4 seconds left on the shot clock, and was right under the basket. Basket was here. Ben was here with the basketball and just needed a little reverse layup that we have seen him do before, or a reverse dunk, whatever he was feeling at the moment. Unfortunately, what he was feeling at the moment was kicking it out to Seth Curry on the perimeter to jack up a three with no time left on the shot clock at that point, who then missed, and it went the other way. That is the exact thing people like myself are talking about when we talk about Ben Simmons not being aggressive enough. And I know I'm not like in some rare company. I know that's the vast majority of humans who have an idea about how basketball is played. And Ben Simmons passed up on that shot to put his team at a detriment, put his team at a deficit, in trouble. He passed up on that easy little layup right there, a reverse jam, whatever, to try to kick it out to Seth Curry, who missed the shot. That is awful basketball. That is dumb basketball. Ben Simmons is a better basketball player than that. And I'm not going to stop banging my head against the wall over it because I know there's a better version of Ben Simmons than what we just saw in that particular play. So sure enough, halftime, they go into the locker room, they have their little talks, they come out, and what do we see in the second half? A totally different Ben Simmons, a completely different Ben Simmons, an aggressive Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons had 4 points in the first half, had 14 points in the second half, and there was a couple of plays here. One play that really sticks out is the obvious one, which was the Ben Simmons alley-oop to Joel Embiid. And I know that's the highlight reel of highlight reel alley-oops and dunks, and it made everyone feel great, like, oh, Sixers got this, no problem. But the play to me that was more important to the game happened a couple of minutes before that. About 11 minutes into the 11-minute mark of the third quarter, Ben Simmons brings the ball up. Joel Embiid's at the top of the key. And Ben kind of gives a look to Joel, like, to me, what I got from it was Ben looking at Joe as if to say, hey, man, you going to go down to the block? And it was like Joel looked back at him and was like, no, man, you're going to go down to the block. So Ben dumps it off to Joel Embiid. Ben starts to then kind of leak towards the block, and that's when Joel Embiid threw up an alley-oop to Ben Simmons, who converted it for 2 points. And it was like Joel wanted to say to him, no, man, we're going to get you going. You need to get it going here offensively. I'm getting double-teamed over here, so now you're the one that needs to come out here and start scoring some points for this basketball team if we want to run away with it. And what did you know? Every single game in the second half when Ben Simmons has elevated his play, it has elevated his team. When he has gotten more aggressive, his entire team has benefited from it. And this was the perfect example of that. 5-point halftime lead. Then Ben Simmons takes over in the second half, and you feel so much better about this club. You feel so much better about everybody else because you know Ben Simmons is doing exactly what he needs to do. Be aggressive, attack the rim, and be the Ben Simmons, the best version of Ben Simmons that we all know and all wait and all long to see. So that's what happened in the second half. Now, here's my issue. I didn't go out of my way to chastise or ridicule Doc Rivers for taking Ben Simmons out of the game when they were up 17 points and they started hack-a-Ben. I didn't do that because it was a much different scenario. I mentioned it. I didn't harp on it because it was a much different scenario than against the Wizards. So I didn't really say anything about that with Doc Rivers. Nothing crazy. But then Doc comes out after, game 4, whatever it was, against the Wizards, and starts talking about how Ben is a treasure. Ben is amazing. Stop ridiculing Ben. He's not a 40-point scorer. He's not going to be that guy. He does other things. That's fine. I don't think anybody looks at Ben Simmons and goes, oh, that guy's going to be a regular 40-point scorer. But what was amazing was after this game, Doc actually called out what all of us were calling out on social media with Ben Simmons. At halftime, apparently went into the locker room to issue a challenge to Ben. And I would have felt after this game, if Doc Rivers got asked about a non-aggressive Ben Simmons, a passive Ben Simmons, he would have chastised the media for saying, hey, but Ben does other things. But he didn't do that. So this is the way Doc Rivers answered the question. It was our friend Paul Hudrick, as a matter of fact, asking Doc Rivers about Ben Simmons and the way he was playing in the second half. Here's Doc Rivers talking about that change in Ben Simmons for the second half.
Yeah, we just thought he passed up too many opportunities in the fast break at the post. And so we told him we're going to come out and feature him on the post and be aggressive. With the pass first, I always think when you start him out passing on the post, then he gets aggressive in the game. And he was great for us. It's exactly what we need with his pace and power. It was great.
It was exactly what you needed. And oftentimes it's exactly what you need. I don't know what it is with Ben Simmons that you feel like you got to put a quarter in the machine every single time, but that's exactly what Doc Rivers did. And you know what, Doc? Credit to you for at least coming out and saying that and acknowledging what we all saw, because oftentimes that's one of the most frustrating things. And after Doc Rivers came out before and told you just how great Ben is and he's not going to be a 40-point scorer and all that, and I know people were coming at me saying like, well, what do you want Doc to say? Do you want him to throw his player under the bus? It's not throwing a player under the bus if you're acknowledging an obvious thing. And it's like, well, if it's obvious, why does it need to be said? Because I want to know I'm not freaking crazy. That's why. So in Doc Rivers saying that after the game, it's like, okay, all right, we're all justified in how we feel. We're not talking about Ben going out there and dropping 40 on the Hawks. We're talking about a guy not kicking a basketball out with 3-4 seconds left on the shot clock when he's right under the rim. That's what we're talking about. And that's what he was doing in the first half. That's what he did not do in the second half. And that's what he was aggressive. And he was attacking the rim. And he was looking to score. And he wasn't afraid to go to the line. I am not all of a sudden expecting Ben Simmons to be some even 75% free throw shooter for the rest of the playoffs from this point on. I'm not looking for Ben Simmons to start knocking down threes. Oh, my God. That part of the conversation just drives me crazy at this point. I'm not looking for Ben Simmons to all of a sudden start hitting, 15-foot jump shots. All I'm looking for is Ben Simmons to facilitate on offense, play great runner-up style defensive player of the year type of defense, and I'm expecting him to be aggressive. That's it. Those are all three things that I know Ben Simmons can do, and not just do, but do great. If those three things is why he got a fourth place MVP vote. Those three things are why he's been an all-star 3 times by the time he's 24 years old. Just do that, Ben. I don't need anything else. And it felt like I do, but I just don't expect it right now. But those three things are all I want from Ben Simmons at this point. And that's all I really expect from Ben Simmons at this point. And for Doc Rivers to at least go in the locker room and be like, oh, yeah, Ben, you need to be aggressive. You need to attack. You are passing up on way too many shots. You need to attack the rim. And the minute Doc Rivers said that, Ben Simmons responded. And wouldn't you know it, Sixers win the game. Sixers run away with it in the fourth quarter especially. And I think a lot of people forgot how much better this Sixers team is than that Atlanta Hawks team. And my take after the first game of this series was that, all right, okay, congratulations to the Atlanta Hawks on the greatest 3 quarters they've ever played of basketball. You ain't seeing that again. And we have not seen that again. And every single time there's been some kind of struggle in this series, the Sixers have come roaring back to face adversity and then punch it in the mouth. And then they take over in the game. You looked at game 1, they only lost by 4. They were turned like 26 at one point in that game. You look at game 2, you have a great first quarter for the Sixers. You had the Hawks starting to come back. Next thing you know, the bench steps up. In a game that Joel Embiid really played phenomenally in throughout the game, 40 points, but really the bench stepped up to really turn the tide of that game. And then you look at this game 3, and Ben Simmons absolutely takes over in the second half to just put on display everything that he does well. Joel Embiid had another solid game throughout. Tobias Harris had another solid game throughout. You lost Danny Green in this game. And that brings me to this conversation, which is where do we go from here? If you're the Sixers, Danny Green's going to be gone 2 to 3 weeks. He tweeted out yesterday, thanks to the real ones for the love and the support, basically. But, I'll be back before you know it. You had Matisse Thybulle address the media yesterday talking about how he's going to be working hard if he gets called upon to be in the starting 5 to try to replace a guy like Danny Green. If I am giving a vote to Doc Rivers, if he calls me up and says, hey, Marc, what do you want to do here? I say, it's Matisse Thybulle. I don't it's not even a question. Matisse Thybulle is my starter. It's going to come down to really him or Furkan Korkmaz. I nothing against Furkan, and he played really well in game 3. Matisse Thybulle is the guy I'm starting. I want that defense right there for the waiting. I want it right there for Trae Young. I want, if there's going to be switch-offs there, I want it right out there in the starting 5 to just make sure you have this defense handle their business. Matisse Thybulle, I think, has earned it. Matisse Thybulle, I thought, it has improved his three-point shooting. He has been more aggressive. He has fit the flow of this offense very well. And if he didn't have Seth Curry in the starting five, for instance, I would say, oh, yeah, no. Get another shooter in there and Furkan Korkmaz. But no, for this, I think it has been Matisse Thybulle's job to lose in terms of being the next man up when it comes to the starting five. If you're going to lose a forward like Danny Green, for instance, have Matisse Thybulle in there, and that's the way I think Doc Rivers ends up going in this game for tonight. That's what I would do. That's what I'm hoping Doc Rivers will do. Matisse Thybulle spoke yesterday about how he's just got to be ready and have that mentality of if he's called upon to be in the starting five to make sure he brings it. I saw some people tweeting about this, and I don't really see how this is possible, but it was like, because Danny Green's not in, you might see Mike Scott. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy with how deep Doc Rivers is going to have to go down the bench. But I think when it comes to Danny Green being out, I think Matisse Thybulle is the guy that ends up going into that spot. We'll have more Sixers conversation when we talk to our friend Amy Fadool coming up in just a couple of minutes. I do want to mention the Phillies here in the opening segment of the show, because how about them? A game over 500 right now, Philadelphia Phillies, and all that they were able to do, especially over this past weekend. Don't look now, but the Phillies have won 4 in a row. They have won 6 of their last 7. A couple of those games going into extra innings. And it feels like, the Oprah, the gif of like, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. It's like, you get a walk-off win, and you get a walk-off win. We all get walk-off wins. And it started with our man, walk-off Willie, Luke Williams. Started with him, Thursday night. And then it trickled into the weekend with Gene Segura getting a walk-off or 2 for you. It trickled into just really an incredible win yesterday as well, where you win 7-0, and you get a great game from Aaron Nola. There was a little sputter, if you will, in this game for Aaron Nola, but all in all, he looked like an ace again. For the first time in a while, he actually looked like an ace. Still, Zach Wheeler is outdoing him throughout the season, but it ain't the question. You want your guy to give you the scoreless innings he was able to give you yesterday. 7 2/3 yesterday for Aaron Nola? So you want to see that from Aaron Nola, and that's what you got from him yesterday. He battled through some times where he didn't have his best stuff, and that's not to say this was a start where he didn't have his best stuff, but there are definitely a couple of innings there where it was like, is this going to be an early exit? No? Okay. All right, good. We're all fine now. We're fine. But Aaron Nola was great. And it was good to see the Phillies get a convincing win. Not a laugher, I would really say, but at least a convincing win over the New York Yankees. And I know it's only a 2-game series, but still, a sweep is a sweep is a sweep. And like I said, they're going out there to face the West Coast trip, 6 games, 3 coming up against the Dodgers starting tonight, 10:10 start time in L.A. And then they go to face San Francisco Giants for 3 as well. But this particular game, it was great to see not just Aaron Nola on the hill, but guys come up in this lineup to just give you the old college try, if you will, and produce for you. And seeing guys like Odubel Herrera come out and continue to hit for this team. He got 2 hits for you yesterday. Gene Segura is just really turned a corner right now. He got 3 hits for you yesterday, and the walk-off win, obviously, the other day. JT Realmuto got 2 hits for you. He's up to 295 on the season now. Rhys Hoskins just looked out of sorts yesterday. Bryce Harper got you a hit as well. He's hitting 272 now. Really, it was a bunch of guys in this lineup that were just flat out producing, and it made you feel a little bit more confident going into this week, because it is going to be a tough series against the Dodgers. It is going to be a very tough series against the Gabe the Babe led San Francisco Giants. So if you're going to handle business by taking 2 out of 3 from the Braves, taking 2 out of 2 by the Yankees before this trip, I'm a happy man. Because I'm not expecting a lot, unfortunately, on this West Coast trip. As much as I want to say I am expecting a lot, I'm not. So it was good they got what they got before they go on this trip. Hey, maybe they're playing just the good baseball right now, good enough baseball right now, where they can look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? Yeah, we got this. Let's keep rolling it out here. Let's keep continue to make things happen there on the West Coast, and let's hope that the good vibes keep on coming. Phillies, by the way, now 3 games out of first place behind the Mets. If you get Aaron Nola pitching like he pitched yesterday, along with Zach Wheeler, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, Vince Velasquez pitching the way he's pitched for the vast majority of the season since he's been a starter, and then you get Spencer Howard coming up the rear. Yeah, man, This Phillies team can at least make a wild card. This Phillies team, I think, can compete. I mean, they're only 3 games out right now. That I don't even think they played their best baseball yet. And I know I'll get to this a little bit later. What did Charlie Manuel always used to say? It's hitting season. Certainly feels like hitting season now, doesn't it? It absolutely does. So let's hope that this hitting season hits the Phillies bats sooner rather than later. Right now, I want to tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Here at the Steven Singer Studios, we send everybody to Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Find that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. It's always great. But don't you hate all the pressure comes next? Of course, there's all the engagement talk. And I know a lot of people, hey, when are you getting engaged? Hey, you guys have been together a while now. When are you getting engaged? Well, you might use every excuse in the book to not get engaged. Oh, it's too much pressure. The ring shopping's too much pressure. It's too expensive. That's why you got to check out Steven Singer Jewelers. No pressure, no haggling, and everything's already at the perfect price. So how much better than that can it get? I'll tell you right now, it can't get any better than that. At least check out Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, or at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's why guys really hate Steven Singer. He takes all the excuses away from buying the special engagement ring for the one you love. He makes it so easy to buy a ring. I hate Steven Singer. Steven Singer is a Philly jeweler, obviously, and that's why he wants to make it easy for all people in Philadelphia and all people across the country to buy real diamonds. For over 4 decades, he's the man that you need to see in Philadelphia. He specializes in diamond engagement rings and is real jewelry experts. His full staff of real jewelry experts make sure they walk you through everything. Real people are right there standing at the ready to help you find the perfect ring at the perfect price every single day. No call center, no sales, no haggling, no promo codes, no discounts, just every single day, the perfect price guaranteed. You get the best value every single day. Check out Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right in Philadelphia, or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com, always with fast and free shipping. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. All right, without further ado, we're going to be joined by one of my favorite people in the history of humanity. She's the absolute best. Let's jump on the Zatos Investments guest line right now and talk to our good friend, Amy Fadool. And now joining us on the Zatos Investments guest line, the amazing, from NBC Sports Philadelphia, Sixers pre and post, Amy Fadool joins us. What's going on there, Amy?
Hey, Marc, how are you? It's so good to see you. It's so good to be here.
It's great to have you on. It's great to see you again. I know a lot of people, they're very upset. They weren't able to see Ala Abdenabi anymore. They weren't able to see Marc Zumoff anymore. But right there, by our side, every step of the way, pre and post, right there on NBC Sports Philly, there you are, still just comforting us, talking basketball with us.
Me, Jim Lynam, and his beard are still there, and Mark Jackson, of course, as well. I get more Twitter and Facebook and Instagram messages about Jim's beard than I get almost anything else. It's like Jim's beard, Ben Simmons free throws, and then Joel Embiid's awesome. It's like that. Those are the 3 things that I get. But no, I mean, it's really great. Hopefully the next round, we can work Marc Zumoff in. It's, he gets a little time off. Obviously, he takes usually a little bit of the break. And then I know once they get past the Hawks and they're for the Eastern Conference Finals, he's going to want to get back in the mix. And, he's still active on Twitter, but it's just not the same. I mean, it's one of those weird little NBA rules that the local broadcast, remember it used to be that way for the Phillies too. And, Harry Cowles finally got to call the World Series, but it took those guys forever. So hopefully the league can make some changes, because the last game was a little rough on the announcers. And then sometimes they don't even get the names right. Like I heard Marv Albert said like Matisse Maxey, and I was like, well, that would be quite the player. I would be really impressed with that guy. Good spark, good defense, good, slasher. I'm like, wow, look at him. So it's disappointing, but we are glad to still be with you every pre and post game. We always have the stuff. We always can bring you the comments right away. You can hear from all the players and the coaches, of course, get the analysis from Jim and Marc. So it's still good to be there, but it's a bummer not to have Zoo and Ala though.
Oh, absolutely. But I know you guys will be having them along at some point. But my favorite was Furkan Cork Maze. That was one of my favorites. Why
would you ever even think that's how they pronounce that? That just doesn't even sound right. Is it Maze? Like no,
what?
There's no I in there.
He's he's from Turkey, right? Anyway,
yeah, he's not from Iowa.
So let's talk about Furkan for a second here. Danny Green injured, probably 2 weeks, right? 2-3 weeks maybe. So we're looking right now at Furkan Korkmaz or Matisse Thybulle in the starting line, or Matisse Maxey. I don't know, but it's either going to be Thybulle or it's going to be that other guy, Furkan Korkmaz. Who do you think gets in the starting lineup?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that because this injury, as soon as it happened, the calf strain, Marc Jackson was like, ooh, calf strain. I was like, why? And he goes, that's like, in my estimation, a minimum 5 games. So you're looking, like you said, like 2 to 3 weeks. And, George Hill spoke recently about it on Sunday. And he said, listen, Danny's told us, you guys take care of business. I'm going to be back soon. But soon might be 5 games, and that would be into the next series. That would be the Eastern Conference Finals. So me personally, I see him starting Matisse Thybulle. There's a reason Matisse is the first guy off the bench. There had been some thought about going with George Hill, who I know hasn't been that great at times during the playoffs, but he's kind of come into his own the last couple of games. He would be a steady presence. Doc Rivers doesn't really like to mess with that second unit unless he really is forced to. He likes to keep them together. That's why we saw like a Mike Scott when Joel Embiid was out. We saw him in there because he likes to keep Dwight with the second unit, because in his mind, the second unit is its own entity. They, as much as we love it, they're out there sometimes as a whole, all 5 of them, and we're all like, okay, this is enough of this, and move on. You kind of stop that after a while, and he always has a starter out there. But I think he likes the defense that Matisse brings. Of course, Furkan coming off that really good game, he might see the starting lineup too. He's played with both, but I would think we would see Matisse at least to start, and then Furk coming in quickly, because you give up a lot offensively. But if you see games like Tobias Harris had, and then the second half of Ben Simmons, and of course Joel's always going to give you almost 40, you don't miss the offense as much when Matisse plays in the game, because everybody else is going to be able to pick up the slack. And I think that they would really like to get out to the start offensively like they did, but also get all the stops. Check Trae Young, check Kevin Huerter, check John Collins, check all the guys, make sure they can limit them to not having a big first quarter, and then they can see about putting in some more offensive firepower. That would be my play.
No, I'm with you as far as Thybulle being the guy that gets in the starting lineup, and I do agree that's where Doc Rivers is going to go with this. You mentioned Ben Simmons, second half Ben Simmons. Why was it okay this time around for Doc Rivers to acknowledge that Ben Simmons needed to be more aggressive, instead of like the first time around in the first round against the Wizards? It was like, oh no, Ben's a treasure. How dare you? He's not a 40-point scorer. Like, when all I think most fans, and me particularly, was asking for was just an acknowledgement that we could use a more aggressive Ben Simmons.
Yeah, and an acknowledgement also of the free throws and the disaster. John's here. You see John? There he is. But the lack, and I think the Doc took it at its face of like, oh, you just wanted to score. You're just, you guys are mad that he's not scoring points. Listen, I don't care if he doesn't score as many points. I know he's not a 20-point scorer, but he took 3 shots. I mean, come on, let's be honest. I need you to take more than 3 shots. You can't do that in a game, especially when you've got the offensive firepower on the other side with the likes that, like I said, a Trae Young, obviously, and then but their secondary guys are Bogdanovich. I mean, he's an unbelievably gifted offensive player. So it was funny. And the reason, I guess, to answer your question, the reason why is because the coach can do that. I mean, he has that kind of like card in his bag. I'm like, all right, now I can play this. But no, it was even Jim Lynam, who is always of the coach mindset. He's agreed with Doc more than a lot of us. He minded the lack of shots. And even, the second game and the first game and the Wizard series, he's like, I need him. He's like, hey, I know he's not going to give me 20 points, but he can shoot the ball 13 times, like 12, 11, anywhere in there. Double-digit attempts is what he wanted to see. But the key was, and Jim called it as soon as they started out of the timeout, he goes, you see where they're playing him? They're playing him in the low post. And it just is such a different dynamic when you play him in the low post, because then he becomes an offensive threat. Because he's winning that, 6 feet, then he can actually put the ball on the floor and go right to the rim. When he's in that area, 12 feet and out, we all know that he's not going to shoot it, and everybody else knows it in the entire building. So it was interesting that Doc finally was like, oh yeah, we need to be aggressive. And I told him, I don't know if he just got fed up or he realized that Danny Green's not there. And so you're not going to get, Danny Green hasn't been, super efficient offensively,
Sure.
But he's a guy that can get you points. He is an offensive threat. Ben Simmons, when he's not in that 6-foot little area, he's not an offensive threat. We all know that. So it was interesting. He was like, oh yeah, we told him we needed him. I was like, you should have said that like literally a month ago. You need him all the time, whether, it's because somebody went out or not, but you need to close these teams out. You can't stop playing with them. Don't do that. Close them out. So it was interesting that he did finally like, oh yeah, no, we told him we needed to be aggressive. So he was. I was like, well, can you keep telling him that? Because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, and I agree. When it comes to the plays between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, I know the one that's getting all the luster, all the excitement is the alley-oop from Ben Simmons to Joel Embiid. But I felt like the play that was even more important was that play I think you were referencing with Coach pointing out, Jim Lynam pointing out, where it was Ben Simmons feeding the ball back to Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid looking at him going, no, man, you go down on the post.
You go for it. Yep.
It's time to get you going, in other words. That's what it looked like to me.
It was a couple different times you saw Joel Embiid almost bring the ball timeline a couple times. He's like, you cross, I'm like, oh, but he's bringing the ball up the court. Interesting. But it was just a different wrinkle when it was almost like they were like, we need to show you exactly where we want you to be. And so Joel's going to bring the ball up and he's going to tell you where to go. So a couple different times, and Ben obviously knows that's his sweet spot. That's where he works all the best. And that's where he knows he can drive, because anybody that they put on him there, if they put a bigger body, he's going to be able to go fast by them, right? And if they put somebody that matches him in speed, he's just got the size to go right over them or right through them, do the straight line drive, which he's so good at. But there was two different plays like that where he had the ball in that low post area and he tried to cross-court pass one of them, and then Joel passed it back out. And then it came back to Ben, and then he did one of his straight line drives. He kind of like backed up and then turned and went right at him. So it's definitely something. I don't know if the switch has been flipped now. We're going to see it, from the jump. I would hope so. Obviously, the Hawks have seen it now too, so they're going to be a little bit more cognizant. But they can't double team. They're not going to double team Ben Simmons because they know that he's not going to make a free throw. If they do try to present like a physical nature and try to foul him, they can do that. And that he's still going to be trepidatious. So if they just don't let him get in that little sweet spot for him, keep him on the outside, he'll continue to pass it. So it'll be interesting to see what adjustments that they make. Nate McMillan certainly has been aware of it because, they came out, Ben Simmons scored 11 points in the third quarter. That's super aggressive for him. And he was just going right at it, and he was in that sweet spot. And they just, Doc Rivers calls it feeding the pig. And they absolutely fed the pig there because he was working it, and they couldn't stop him. There was nobody stopping because if they put, a smaller guy on him, he just was able to just absolutely power right through him.
To me, this seems like the Sixers have reestablished themselves as a number one seed. I know a lot of people looked at that game one, first 2 quarters, first 3 quarters of that, and went, oh God, the Hawks are now the 2016 Golden State Warriors. Oh no. But I feel like since then, the Sixers have done a great job reestablishing themselves. No better example than really the way they played game 3. Do you think that's the version of the Sixers we're going to be seeing throughout the rest of this series?
I do. I know it was an activation of, aggressive Ben Simmons, but it was an activation of a better team as a whole. Even when they got a little sloppy in game 3, they started out opening quarter, 6 turnovers, and we all thought, oh my gosh, it's just like game 1 where they had 9 turnovers. They had 10 the entire game after that. So they had 6 in the opening quarter and only 4 in the final 3 quarters. That to me says, all right, this team is able to flip that switch and they're tired of playing around with it. And really, the end of game 1 was, I think, a reason to give everybody hope because one, the Hawks turtled up. They couldn't complete the deal. And I wish someone could have been on set, and I should have been recording it with my phone. Jim Lynam was just absolutely going bananas when they were doing the hack-a-bin up 8 points with 14 seconds to go. He is like I couldn't even describe it. He was just like, are you kidding me? And he's literally like turning red in the face. You're stopping the clock. And I was like, Jim, this is good for us. No, I know. But I was like, okay, let's go.
He's just offended by bad. He's offended by bad coaching.
He was offended. He was deeply offended that they would be doing this. Like, you're letting them back in the game. They don't deserve to be in this game, which is true. They didn't, but it was amazing. So I think, the second half of the game 1, game 2, every time the Hawks made a push, the Sixers answered. And then the way they came out in game 3 in Atlanta, that was a very hostile, aggressive crowd, mean at times, cheering for Joel. Like, seriously, if that had been in Philly, we all know what that would have been like. So I just thought that to me was like, there was one point, and it was in the third quarter, and I can't remember the exact bucket, but Jimmy just looks at me and goes, that's a spirit breaker, Aim. Spirit break. And I was like, what's that? He goes, the series is over. That's what he said. It was the third quarter. I was like, I don't know, Jim, it's not over yet. He goes, spirit breaker in.
There is nothing more authentic than you saying aim. And you like, even if you didn't tell me who was talking to you, I would know it would be Coach Lynham. I would just know it. Last thing for you when it comes to this series, not even just this series, but really the playoffs, aim. When it comes to the rest of this playoffs, I mean, the Sixers to a point have to be licking their chops a little bit. Not that you ever look past your opponent, and not that you ever root for an injury, unless you're an Atlanta Hawk fan.
But
Kyrie Irving goes down. We don't know, how severe it is. Obviously, James Harden has been dealing with right hamstring tightness, I believe. The Nets aren't that team. They don't look like that team a little bit. Now it's all even with the Bucks. If you're the Sixers, you got to be thinking, man, things could be falling into place for us.
Absolutely. It's, when we all watched that first, and really almost probably more so the second game, the second Nets Bucks game, you're thinking, well, this Nets team's never losing. Like they're scoring 140 points, and no one can even you can't even get in the same gym as them. The Sixers always had a good matchup with the Nets because the Nets don't have an answer for Joel Embiid. What you needed from the Sixers in the mindset of, like, on paper, you needed secondary scoring. You had to have Tobias get you 20. You had to have Ben your 16. You needed Furkan. You needed Seth Curry. You need all those guys to be double digits because the Nets are just going to absolutely score the pants off the ball. Well, right now, they got one guy. Now, the one guy is Kevin Durant. Obviously, that's, a very good guy. But after that, they just got a bunch of Burrow, Jimmy here, Jags, just a guy. It's just the guy. It's just the guy. And while, they can have one guy step up here and there, seeing these games in the 80s for scoring, I mean, that absolutely would if I was a Sixer player, I would be salivating because the Sixers, they're averaging 120 points at this point right now. So they have to think, we take care of business. Maybe they can get done with the Hawks if they win, game 4 down there on Monday tonight, and then Wednesday you're thinking, okay, we're done game 5, we have a couple of days off, let's let them go full freight. And even if the Nets get past the Bucks, say they go 7, that's a downtrodden Nets team that thought that they were going to steamroll the Bucks, and the Bucks are going to make them work for it. And if I was the Sixers, I was thinking, maybe I would have thought, 2 weeks ago that we'd have our hands full. And you still are going to have your hands full. Obviously, the Nets are still gifted because they're still, even if they have, 1.5 of their star players, these are, former MVPs, for Pete's sake, with Harden, obviously, and KD. But I was pleasantly, excited, I will say.
I understand.
Kyrie went down. I was like, all right, well, that's good. Sets up for us. But July looks a little bit more busy now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. You were happy that the Nets weren't as good.
Yes.
That's it.
No one, honestly, like Charles Barkley said it the other day, and I think a lot of people agree. The Nets are not a likable team right now. It's not like this. I know everybody said that about the Heat because the super team. I feel like the Heat were at least a little bit more likable. I feel like this Nets team is wholly unlikable. And maybe it's because their stars are just not, likable guys as far as, charismatic, and they're just more like the reticent and kind of like surly and not talking, type of guys. It's not like a Dwayne Wade who has fun out there. I mean, James Harden is kind of like salty, and Kyrie's salty, and KD, well, he's fun on Twitter. That's about it.
KD is this is his second attempt at a super team. So how could you even try to like that? Really?
No, exactly.
Amy Fadool, NBC Sports Philadelphia, Sixers pre and post. Absolutely adore what you do on the network. And this is not overstating anything. One of my favorite humans to ever human, the great Amy Fadool. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Farzy.
My thanks once again to Amy Fadool for joining us there on the Zatos Investments guest line. And Amy is one of my favorite humans to ever human. I mean that when I say that. She's the best. But I will say the other person we were talking about there, Jim Lynham, just a quick aside on Coach Lynham. He has this amazing gift to make anybody feel like they could teach him something about the game. And I mean that in a personal way. Like, if you meet him and you're talking basketball, he'll say, that's a great point. Like you just taught him something. Like, in all his vast basketball experience and vast basketball knowledge. Oh, there's a little tidbit from my CYO days there, Coach, that you might find helpful. And he means it. And I asked him about it one time because I saw him talking to, I think it was an usher at the Wells Fargo Center. And I just was smiling because the person was just talking Sixers and there's a lot of fan stuff. It was really nice. And Jim just turns around and starts walking away after the conversation was over, of course. And I go, Jim, you're just the best. Like, that usher now feels like he taught you something about the game. And he goes, well, Mark, you got to listen to everybody. From the mouth of babes, you can learn something. And I'll never forget Jim Lynam using the line from the mouth of babes. Anybody can learn from somebody. Like, it's just anybody can learn from anybody, basically. One of the best ever. And Marc Jackson, I feel the same way about. He's the best. Really, that whole pregame, postgame, halftime crew is just amazing. But Amy's my fave. If I'm playing faves, Amy's my fave. So my thanks to Amy Fadool for joining us there on the Zatos Investments guest line. But right now, let me tell you about DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook. Nice little weekend. Tell you a little bit more about that in our big bet segment to round out the show. But DraftKings is not only my favorite sportsbook of choice, it's America's top-rated sportsbook of choice. How do you like that? It's easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions, and when you use it, how about this? For new bettors, it has nice little instructions to walk you through everything for the new people that are betting on things. And you can also use promo code Farzy, by the way. That's promo code Farzy when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And DraftKings, how about this promotion, is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. That's right. Pick any basketball team that is still in contention, meaning in the playoffs, obviously. Bet $1 on that basketball team, and if they win, you win $100 in site credits. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on baseball and hockey and so much more. DraftKings is safe and secure and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. You hit big, take a couple of bucks out. Treat yourself to something nice. Buy yourself a new pair of shoes. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy to sign up to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their next game, and if they do, you claim $100 in site credits. Must be 21 or older, present in Pennsylvania, new customers only. Wagers paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our friends over there at PHLSportsNation.com? You can check out our friends over there at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHLSportsNation.com, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Ooh, I had to wait for this moment. I was going to post over the weekend. Told you guys I was going down to Annapolis. Told you guys on my way down there I was going to stop at a little place we have to call Steak and Maine. And it was delectable. It was just as good as I remember from the last time. Ladies, I told you I can't have steak that's under 20 ounces. You put an 8-ounce steak in front of me, I'm like, what is this, the kids' menu? Right? Can't do the 16-ounce. I got to go big or go home. I got to go 20 ounces or less. So how about a 20 – oh, no, excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. How about a 2-pound tomahawk steak, ladies and gentlemen? That was my lunch on Friday. That was my lunch. It was so unbelievable. And look, my wife even took this picture. She couldn't help herself. Just look at that. That's called your husband being happy right there. Look at that. I want to eat that again. Look at the vegetables real quick. I thought the vegetables were adorable. Like, I'm not eating the vegetables. What are you, insane? I got too much steak to eat. We also had crab dip. The crab dip was phenomenal. They had a nice little, like, Old Bay crab seasoning type deal. It wasn't Old Bay, but it was like some kind of Old Bay-ish type of jazz on the toasted bread with the crab dip. That was amazing. I had a little sushi as well. That was phenomenal. So to do what I do, go to Steak and Maine. All right, check out steakandmaine.com for more information. Right in the heart of Northeast Maryland, whether you like to dine in a more upscale steakhouse or casual bar and patio, you'll enjoy the highest quality prime meats. One more time, just for the yeah, that's right. Anyway, check out the highest quality prime meat. That was delicious. I'm not kidding you. It really was. That was the 2-pound tomahawk steak. That is part of the prime meats that they have there. Fresh seafood, world-class oyster bar, and freshly prepared sushi. The sushi was incredible. All that in an extensive wine list, including their own Cavada Cellars wines. I had a nice Cavada Cellars Pinot Noir with that steak. Have I shown you the steak yet? Because there it is. Oiling and lotioning. All right, anyway. The Pinot Noir from Cavada Cellars wines was absolutely incredible as well. My man Tony hooked it up. It was just Amazing. Steak and Maine in the heart of Northeast Maryland voted number one place for steaks in America. Did somebody say steaks? Oh my goodness. All right, that's enough. They voted number one place for steaks in America by the Travel Channel and the Cooking Channel. Check it out for yourself. Go to steakandmaine.com. Oh, I got to tell you about FanUp. Had a couple of challenges over the weekend from you fine people. Thank you so much. I do want to tell you about FanUp and how great they are and how much fun I'm having on this app. The days of playing fantasy sports alone, they're over. Ladies and gentlemen, you can squad up with your friends on the FanUp app and enjoy yourself. Download the FanUp app in the App Store and use promo code FanUp. That's promo code FanUp to get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. Enter FanUp super fun daily and weekly contests, answer fun questions, and rise on their leaderboard. FanUp is the only app that you can bet with your friends as if you're making your own bets, right? You could get in on challenges, issue challenges to your friends, talk smack like you would in fantasy sports, use gifts, whatever you want to use. It's a great time. And it's the only place you can win real brand prizes. Pair of Jordans, you hear me talking about Louis Vuitton bag they gave away some weeks ago, a $200 gift card to a Nike store, all this stuff on the FanUp app. It is a blast. Download the FanUp app right now. Get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. That's FanUp. Just be fans. Have yourselves a good time. So thank you to all our fine sponsors. Much appreciated. Now let's get to our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Mally, Dan, I saw you guys. I'm not going to get to the comments today because I got two things I want to get to when it comes to other social media platforms that I have to mention today because they're just so damn good. And it really just has to do with the Phillies, to be honest with you. But I saw you guys tweeting over the weekend about how pissed off you were at the Phillies. And then the Phillies came back. So at least we felt good about that. And a lot of people that were commenting on the Sixers over the weekend, I feel great about this Sixers team making it to the NBA Finals right now. I feel great. And if I feel great about them at least making it to the Finals, I feel great about them possibly winning the Finals, as I told you earlier in the program. So we'll get to that again a little bit later in this segment. But I do want to show this. This is pretty awesome. Social media check-in is going to center around a couple of things here, mainly the Phillies and this. Aaron Nola to the ballpark yesterday, leaving the ballpark yesterday as they're going on their West Coast road trip. I believe it's a 6-game road trip, 3 in LA with the Dodgers, and then they got 3 in San Francisco with the Giants. Gabe Kapler's Giants are just playing off the charts right now. But they chose to go to their team flight wearing Sixers attire to support the 10-9-8 76ers. Got Aaron Nola there in the Ben Simmons. That's a quality item. And then you also have, how about this? Now, I have no idea who this is. And I saw other people on the Phillies Twitter account say the same thing, an Instagram account. They didn't know who the guy in the Lower Merion jersey is. I don't know who it is either. Whoever it is, props to you, bro. Shout out to Kobe. And then Archie Bradley, I just feel stole the show right there. He's got the sleeve, people. He's got the sleeve. Shout out to Allen Iverson, that old jersey. God, you know what's funny? I didn't like those jerseys when I was a kid. And it's funny because that was my era. That Iverson era jersey was like my era of really being in the Sixers. And I didn't like the jersey. I always love the throwback. Sixers have more of the throwback now. I think at some point the Sixers will wear that Iverson era jersey again. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was next year or the year after. I don't know. I know in the NFL, it's crazy. You got to wait 2 years. I would like to do a uniform change in 2 years. That's lame. I know that's the rule in the NFL. NBA, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't be shocked if we see the Sixers in that old school Iverson jersey before we see the Eagles back in Kelly Green. Not going to be surprised at all. Because personally, I think the Eagles are never going to be in Kelly Green. I know there's always rumors. There's always stories. I just don't see it happening anytime soon, unfortunately. And I do love that Kelly Green jersey. But one more time, Archie Bradley, absolutely love to see that. Also, I want to move on. All right, that was our social media check-in brought to you by Steak and Maine and steakandmaine.com. Now it's time for our morning rush that we love to do every single day. Nets, we talked about this a little bit. We mentioned this. The Nets lost to the Bucks 107-96. You love to see it. But look, we're never rooting for injuries. I can't say that enough. But if the Nets aren't as good as they were going into the playoffs, then that's a good thing for the Sixers. And right now, it's not looking too great. Once again, x-rays were negative on Kyrie Irving's ankle, so we'll see where it goes from there. James Harden still has the stiffness in his right hamstring, so we're not sure when he's going to be able to play again. And certainly the Bucks look like they had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder over the last couple of games to rally back to get to the now 2-2. The series is now tied at 2 games apiece. If you're not watching the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant in that game, 34 points, 9 points when P.J. Tucker was guarding him. P.J. Tucker in the game had 13 points. So that means in the time he was guarding Kevin Durant, he actually outscored Kevin Durant. That's pretty incredible. Suns, if you're not watching the Suns this postseason, you are missing out. The Phoenix Suns are the most fun I've had watching a non-Philly team probably since the Golden State heyday, like 2016, whatever it was. Like, that was so much fun to watch that Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, peak of their, the prime, right? Andre Iguodala was on that team, obviously. That was a lot of fun to watch that type of offense. The Suns are equally as fun for me, but for a totally different reason. And it all comes down to Chris Paul. I love a maestro, and he is a maestro. He conducts the orchestra. He is a master of what he does. And it's hard. You'll go back and you'll think about teams that added players that were the perfect missing link, right? And I absolutely think, like the Sixers, they needed a center to go up against Shaq in the finals in 2001 with Allen Iverson in that whole era, and Dikembe Mutombo was a perfect missing link to that. And you knew, you weren't sure what you were going to get from Theo Ratliff as that series went on, a season went on because of his broken wrist and all that. Dikembe Mutombo was a perfect fit for all that. Chris Paul is a perfect fit for the Phoenix Suns. He's exactly what they needed, and now here they are after a 4-game sweep of the Utah Jazz. They are headed, ladies and gentlemen, to the Denver Nuggets. They are headed to the Western Conference Finals. And if you're not watching the Suns, you're missing out. It's some great stuff. Jokic got tossed from the game last night. Cameron Payne, I believe it was, he just hacked in the face with his bicep out of frustration when he didn't get a call on the other end. MVP gets thrown out of the game. Flagrant 2. Deuces, son. Went over to Payne and apologized. But really, aside from Joker, this whole series has really been the Chris Paul show. It has been masterful. So all the young kids out there that want to be a point guard or are a point guard and they want to be a better point guard, go watch Chris Paul tapes. Enjoy yourself. The man's 36 years old. If you haven't seen him by now, what the hell are you doing, kids? Anyway, it's definitely worth checking it out. And then finally, this was just nothing short of spectacular. Charlie Manuel is already like one of my favorite people ever in the history of Philadelphia, the history of the Philadelphia sports scene. Check out Charlie and Larry Boa and look at the caption Charlie put out there. It's kitten season. Yeah. It's kitten season. Not it's hitting season. For those that don't put it together, it's kitten season. Just adorable. Just absolutely. And look at Larry Boa. Look at him get all snuggly with a little cute little kitten. Just so cute. Anyway. So that right there is our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. How about them 76ers and our big bets segment brought to you by DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Use promo code Farzy when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sixers go into the game tonight. -6.5 point favorites. I take it. And then as we get closer to game time, I'm going to peruse some of the other prop bets that are going on. I've had some success in that. I had success with Ben Simmons over, point total over the Friday night. And then obviously the Sixers winning. They were at -1.5, I think, at the time I got them. Sixers won that game. Ben Simmons hit his over. I think it was 13.5 points. He got 18 points, obviously. So I hit on both those bets. Last night, I didn't have as much luck. I bet the Suns -3.5 or -3 against the Nuggets. Suns won, but I also bet Chris Paul to hit a double-double. He fell short of the double-double, unfortunately, so I missed out on that part of the bet, but it worked out otherwise. So really no complaints there. No complaints. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel and Twitch and all of the other fine stuff that we're out there. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Jim Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzetta. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Hey, let's go Sixers.